We already talked a little bit about how you take the results from Monroe's motivated sequence and apply them to the audience. This is just going to take that information and give you a little more clear picture on how you're going to emphasize different areas of Monroe's to make your speech have the most impact. Again, as you are looking at this, you are still covering all 5 steps in Monroe's motivated sequence, and you cover them in this order. But to have the most impact, you should emphasize a few areas depending on your survey results. So what you're going to do is look at the results of your survey, and then you're going to determine where the audience falls. You're going to look at the direction that they fall. This is just in general with the questions that you ask. Was the audience for you, or did they seem more against you? And then you're going to ask, how intense was that, for or against? Was it a weak, like kind of for or against, or was it a very strong for or against? So if you have an audience that you determined was against you in a weak formation, there's kind of against you, we call that the apathetic audience. They're kind of indifferent. This is that whatever audience. So if you find that the audience is generally not with what you're saying, but it's not super strong, they're kind of the indifferent audience. If your audience was kind of on your side, but again, it was fairly weak, they may fall in that uninformed audience quadrant right here. So both of those are that neutral audience that we talked about before. So if your audience is kind of for you, but not super strong for you, it's probably uninformed. They may haven't thought about this a whole lot or never heard about it before. If the audience is for you and it's very strong, that's a favorable audience. If the audience is against you and it's very strong, that's the opposed audience. You're going to take your quadrant. You're going to determine which one of those it is based on your survey results. And sometimes there are a few people who are in a different direction, but you take the majority of the audience. If your audience fell into quadrant 1, the favorable audience, you are going to emphasize in your speech satisfaction and action. So your solution and what you want the audience to do. If your audience was for you, but it was kind of weak, this is the uninformed audience. They may not be very aware of the message or the information, or they've never thought about it before. So there you're going to emphasize attention, need, and visualization. You're going to grab the audience's attention. You're going to make them hear more. You're going to really emphasize the problem and how it impacts all of us, and your visualization. Now I have here only written how bad things will get. Visualization can be how bad or good, or a combination of the two. It depends on what impact you want to have. If your audience was not really for you, they seemed more against you, but it was also kind of weak, that's okay. And these two, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference, but that doesn't matter because they both go to the same thing. So if your audience falls here in the third quadrant, you also are emphasizing attention, need, and visualization. There's an audience that is kind of like, whatever, or kind of on the fence. So you grab their attention, really make them want to listen to this. Let them know in the need step, this is a problem and it really impacts you. And then again, your visualization can be good or bad, or a combination of the two. If you found the audience is against you, and it's kind of a strong against you, and you have that opposed audience, then again, you go through every step and you go through them in the same order, but you're going to really emphasize visualization, need, and action. So you're going to help them to see how this impacts all of us and how good it will be, or how bad it will be, or a combination of the two. You're going to help to emphasize the need, and this is the problem, and this is how it really impacts all of us. So you're appealing to those universal concerns, and you're going to emphasize action. Now, keeping in mind, this is a reasonable action, not the total opposite of what they're currently doing. So when you're doing that opposed audience, it's something very small that you're asking for. So you have to cover all 5 steps in Monroe's motivated sequence, and you have to cover them in this order. But you're going to emphasize some steps over others so that you can get the best impact.